Taurus, I told you before, you have a sacred gift, and you must use it right now. Taurus, have you ever quietly asked yourself, is there something more inside me? Maybe you couldn't quite name it, but you've always felt it. A subtle pull in your chest, a sense of calm that others come to you for, a knowing that you can't explain but can never quite ignore. So you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not imagining it. Welcome to Zodiac Wisdom, a sanctuary where soulful seekers like you find meaning, healing, and gentle clarity through astrology and emotional truth. I'm Sophia, your companion on this journey. And if you're a Taurus woman, especially one over 40 who has spent years giving to others, holding things together, or quietly carrying burdens no one else saw, this message is especially for you. Today, I'm not here to teach you something new. I'm here to help you remember what your soul already knows. Because you, Taurus, carry a sacred gift. It's not flashy. It doesn't demand the spotlight. But it's powerful, rooted, healing. And in this moment, more than ever, it's asking to be used. Whether you're a freelancer nurturing your own path, a small business owner trying to balance growth with integrity, or a caregiver whose quiet strength holds everyone else together, today's message will stir something awake in you. Something ancient, something wise. So don't click away too soon, because what you're about to hear is not just a video. It's a moment your soul has been preparing for. A homecoming. Stay with me until the very end, because the most profound truth I'll share is saved for the final breath of this message. And I promise you, it may change how you see yourself forever. And one more thing. If anything in this message speaks to your heart, even just one word, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone you love. You never know who might need this light today. Now take a deep breath, Taurus. The journey inward is beginning, and your sacred gift is ready to rise. Gate 1. The sacred gift inside Taurus, returning to the wisdom of stillness. Taurus, you are not here to compete. You are not here to prove your worth through noise or struggle. You were born with a sacred gift, the ability to hold space for beauty, for grounding, for truth. It's a quiet gift, often overlooked in a world that worships urgency. But make no mistake, it is powerful beyond measure. And in 2025, the world needs this gift more than ever. Since childhood, you've likely felt things others didn't notice. You may have felt deeply connected to nature, to animals, to textures and scents that brought you peace others didn't understand. You've always known how to create comfort, not just for others, but for souls seeking rest. Even when life demanded speed, your spirit moved like a slow river, choosing depth over motion, consistency over chaos. But somewhere along the way, Taurus, you may have begun to question this gift. Maybe you were told you were too slow, too stubborn, too sensitive. Maybe the world made you feel that your way of being, gentle, rooted, present, wasn't enough. So you tucked parts of yourself away. You hardened. You pushed. You tried to move faster, talk louder, chase harder. And in doing so, you lost touch with the very essence that made you sacred. But now, something is stirring again, isn't it? Maybe you felt the pull to slow down, not from exhaustion but from knowing. Maybe your heart is whispering that there is another way to live, one more aligned with your natural rhythm. Maybe you're remembering that your power was never in how much you do, but in how deeply you are. This is not regression, Taurus. It is remembering. I once worked with a woman named Helen, a Taurus artist in her early 50s. For years, she worked in finance, a job that looked successful on the outside but quietly drained her every day. She had dreams of starting a botanical studio, of returning to her roots literally, to work with herbs, plants, and healing teas. But she dismissed it as unrealistic. Until one day, after a silent walk in the woods, something clicked. She called it a soul nudge. Within 6 months, she had left her job and turned her passion into a thriving studio that now supports not only her, but an entire community of women seeking holistic healing. She didn't make the leap out of rebellion but out of alignment. Taurus, your gift is not in doing more. It's in making what you do meaningful. Your presence changes rooms. Your hands, whether they're baking, building, writing, or simply holding another's, carry the wisdom of generations. You are a keeper of rituals, of rhythm, of realness. And right now, you are being asked to come back to that truth. Don't look outside for permission. Don't wait for the world to slow down before you decide it's okay to follow your own pace. The world will catch up to you. What you are here to offer, calm, care, clarity, is not only valuable, it is urgent. So how do you begin? You begin by honoring what your body already knows. If you feel tired of the hustle, rest. If your hands ache to create, create. If your heart longs for connection, reach out. Your sacred gift doesn't need a stage. It needs space. It needs silence. It needs your willingness to let the layers fall away until you hear your own truth again. And when you do, something magical happens. Your intuition sharpens. Your voice steadies. Your energy becomes magnetic. Not loud, but undeniable. People will begin to say, "There's just something about you." But it won't be something. It will be your alignment. Your return. Your sacred gift finally being used. Not for others' approval, but for your soul's purpose. So tell me, Taurus, have you felt that soft inner hum lately? That quiet insistence that you are meant for more, but not more noise, more depth? If so, you are not imagining it. You are hearing the voice of your own sacred gift asking, begging to be honored again. This is your time. Not to chase, not to prove, but to return. To become the soul you were born to be, steady, strong, and sacred. Gate 2. The courage to leave what no longer serves. Taurus. Taurus, I know how loyal your heart is. You stay. You hold on. You give second chances, then third, and sometimes even silent forgiveness when no apology is offered. Because for you, love is not just emotion. It's devotion. It's showing up, staying rooted, being reliable when the world becomes chaotic. But what happens when what once gave you comfort starts to quietly cost you your peace? There comes a moment when even the most grounded soul feels the tremor beneath their feet. A moment when you begin to sense that what once held you safe is now holding you back. Maybe it's a job that used to feel purposeful but now drains the color from your days. Maybe it's a friendship where you do all the holding but none of the being held. Maybe it's a version of yourself you've outgrown. A story you once told to feel accepted that no longer fits the truth of who you are becoming. And the hardest part, Taurus, is that this change doesn't come with drama. It comes quietly. A subtle ache. A growing stillness. A sigh you can't explain. And it's in that stillness where the real courage is called forth. You were born under a fixed earth sign. You know how to build, how to commit, how to endure. But this chapter of your life isn't asking for more endurance. It's asking for release. For surrender. For the bravery to unclench your hands from what is familiar, so they may open to something freer, more alive, more in alignment with the soul you've quietly been shaping all along. I remember a Taurus client of mine, Joanna, 48, a deeply loving woman who had been in the same marriage for over 2 decades. On paper, everything looked stable, but inwardly, she felt like a ghost in her own home. "It's not bad enough to leave," she once whispered to me, "but it hasn't felt like love in years." It took her almost a full year to allow herself to truly feel what she had been burying under routine. But when she finally chose herself, not in anger but in compassion, her entire life began to open. New friendships, new work, a soft joy she hadn't felt since her 20s. And most importantly, she began to hear her own voice again. That's what this gate is asking of you, Taurus. To hear your voice above all others. To trust that what you feel is real. To know that choosing yourself doesn't mean abandoning others. It means you're no longer abandoning yourself. It won't always be easy. Your heart might ache with guilt. You might wonder if you're giving up too soon. But you're not giving up. You're growing up spiritually, emotionally, energetically. And sometimes the most sacred form of growth is the quiet choice to stop explaining, stop justifying, and simply walk away with grace. Because when you do, something shifts. The space that was once crowded with compromise begins to breathe. You feel lighter, not because the world changed, but because you finally laid down the weight of pretending. You start to feel moments of unexpected joy, music sounding sweeter, the sun feeling warmer, your own company becoming a place of peace rather than restlessness. Taurus, it's okay to want more. More presence, more peace, more purpose. It's okay to outgrow relationships, roles, and routines. It's okay to say, "This no longer fits me," without needing a villain or a dramatic ending. The soul doesn't need drama to evolve. It just needs truth. And you, dear Taurus, are ready for that truth, even if it means stepping into the unknown. So I ask you now, what have you been holding on to out of habit rather than heart? What version of your life feels heavy, not because it's hard work, but because it's no longer honest? You don't have to answer out loud. Just begin by listening. Begin by noticing. Begin by being gentle with yourself. Because sometimes leaving isn't a loud goodbye. It's the quiet decision to no longer betray yourself for comfort. And on the other side of that decision, a life that feels like an exhale, a life that feels like home, not the one you built for others, but the one your soul has always longed to live. Gate 3. The sacred gift of soul connection for Taurus. Taurus, beneath your practicality, your nurturing hands, and your grounded presence, there is something profoundly spiritual. An ancient longing for connection that isn't based on performance, perfection, or pleasing. You don't just crave affection. You crave resonance. A soul-deep recognition. A feeling of, here, I don't need to explain myself. You have always loved deeply. You give without keeping score. You stay when others waver. You listen when others talk over. But somewhere along the way, you may have forgotten that love, true, sacred, transformative love, doesn't ask you to shrink. It doesn't ask you to prove your worth through silence or sacrifice. It doesn't only come when you're useful, available, or endlessly strong. Comes when you're real. There is a soul connection calling to you now, Taurus, not necessarily a new person, though that's possible, but a new way of relating. A connection where your softness isn't mistaken for weakness, where your desire for comfort is honored, not mocked, where you are not a background character in someone else's story, but a luminous presence in your own. I once worked with a Taurus woman named Elaine, early 50s, a retired nurse, long divorced, who had built a quiet, beautiful life for herself after decades of emotional suppression. She wasn't looking for love. She didn't think that door would open again. And then one evening, while attending a local poetry reading, she met someone who didn't speak over her, didn't rush her, didn't need her to perform. He simply saw her, truly saw her. And that was the beginning. Not of a whirlwind romance, but of something far more sacred. A slow, tender unfolding of two souls remembering each other across time. Elaine told me later, for the first time I didn't feel like I had to earn someone's love. I just had to show up. Taurus, that is the gift now awakening for you. You're stepping into a time when your heart no longer needs to armor itself. When your worth is no longer measured by how much you give away, but by how deeply you honor your own spirit first. This sacred connection, whether with another person, with the divine, or even with yourself, begins with your willingness to stop performing and start receiving. In astrology, Taurus is ruled by Venus, the planet of love, art, and soulful pleasure. But Venus isn't about romance alone. Venus teaches us that beauty is not external. It's how we live, how we treat ourselves, how we soften in a world that often demands hardness. Your soul's journey is not about having the most, it's about feeling the most. And in this chapter, you're being invited to feel love in its most unfiltered form. Not for what you do, but simply for who you are. That connection will not come in chaos. It won't rush you. It won't leave you guessing. It will feel like a garden you've been tending in silence suddenly bursting into bloom. So how do you prepare for this? You keep choosing yourself. You keep sitting with your own heart in quiet moments, not asking when love will arrive, but asking, am I loving myself well, right now? You keep noticing the people and places that drain your peace, and the ones that replenish it. You keep believing, not in fairy tales but in sacred timing. And when that connection arrives, whether in a stranger's eyes, an old friend returning in a new way, or even a part of yourself that you had buried, welcome it. You don't need to question it. If your soul exhales, that is enough. Taurus, you are not here to beg for belonging. You are here to remember that you have always belonged. And the love that finds you now will not be loud or dramatic. It will be steady, respectful, and deeply nourishing. It will not fill your emptiness. It will honor your fullness. This is the sacred gift of soul connection. Not possession but presence. Not fixing but witnessing. Not trying to become something else but finally being allowed to be yourself, fully, gently, and without apology. You are ready, Taurus. Ready to be loved the way you've always quietly hoped for. By someone who sees the depth behind your stillness, the strength beneath your softness, the sacred wisdom wrapped inside your silence. You are not just preparing for connection. You are becoming the connection. And when the moment comes, it won't feel like falling in love. It will feel like arriving home. Conclusion, Taurus, you were never ordinary. You were sacred all along. Taurus, if you are still here with me, reading these words, letting them settle softly into your heart. Then trust me when I say, this was never a coincidence. Something within you, ancient and knowing, brought you here. And now that something is stirring again, like the very first bloom after a long winter, you are remembering, you are rising, and above all, you are returning to yourself. You've carried so much for so long. The quiet endurance, the silent service, the emotional labor that went unseen but never unfelt. You've been the one others leaned on, depended on, and sometimes took for granted. But now, Taurus, the universe is shifting its weight. Not to burden you, but to bless you. To remind you that your patience was never weakness. Your softness was never naivete. It was always your sacred strength in disguise. You've passed through the gates. You've awakened the gift that was never lost, only waiting. You've faced the call to leave behind what no longer feeds your soul. And you've remembered that love, the kind that lasts, the kind that heals, is not earned by proving yourself. It comes when you finally stop hiding your light. Taurus, the life that's arriving is not loud. It's not showy, but it will be true, and it will be yours. So I ask you now, what part of this journey spoke to you most? Was it the moment you finally felt seen? Was it the quiet truth that whispered, "You're not too late"? Was it the realization that you are no longer waiting, you are becoming? Leave me a comment and tell me, because here in this community your story is sacred. Your light is honored, and your voice matters. This is not the end. This is the first page of a brand new chapter. One where your soul doesn't need to scream to be heard. One where your dreams are not luxuries, but instructions from the divine. One where you stop asking for permission to rest, to receive, to rise. So if this message has touched your heart, if it felt like a soft mirror being held up to your spirit, I invite you gently, joyfully, to like, share, and subscribe to our Zodiac Wisdom family. Not because you need to do more, but because your healing, your remembering, your becoming, is a journey we are honored to walk together. And if you are a Taurus or love someone who is, stay close. There is so much more unfolding in the days ahead. This is not just about astrology. This is about soul. And you, my dear Taurus, are not just here to survive this world. You are here to soften it, shape it, and remind it of beauty. Stay rooted in your truth. Stay open to the mystery. And never forget, you were never ordinary. You were sacred all along.